the information out there now with the way that computers, and you can literally ask AI, and we can listen to books on Audible. We can get on social media. A lot of these same individuals, like if you were to sit and watch their social media accounts, it would be all the same information. They're telling people all the same information. They're being so generous with all the information that it's out there, but people consume content in different ways. And so what's actually happening here is that these individuals are struggling because of something in them that keeps them from taking action. It's a fear-based thing, and they're looking for something outside of themselves in order to fix that. And so that's when you really have to stop and take a moment and say, okay, wait a minute, do I need to dig deeper? Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. This is the Conscious Edge podcast, and I'm Alicia St. Germain, entrepreneur and coach. Along with my friend and wellness advocate, Jonathan Duggar, we're diving into what it means to embody radical self-acceptance while still evolving to lead with compassion and kindness. We're sharing our own experiences and expertise as we unpack imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, and all the other things that lead to burnout and keep you from experiencing pure joy, business growth, and maximum impact. This is a safe and supportive space to explore what it means to be a human creating wealth and building a business. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. It is always so fascinating to me when I hear someone complain about a coach or a mentor or somebody that they're following. They read their book and then they decide to join their program because they want to learn how to do a particular strategy. They want to live the life that they're living. They want to learn from that person. And then they complain about how everything in the program or coaching, whatever it is exactly the same as what's in their book. So I want to talk about that today. I want to get into maybe shifting your mind a little bit into why people write books that basically tell you their entire methodology, their entire thinking, how generous it is, and why maybe perhaps some people can pick up a book and go out and do the strategy, and other people struggle so much. My name is Alicia St. Germain. You're listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm so excited that you're here with us. If you are here for the first time and you don't know anything about the Conscious Edge or who I am a coach for women entrepreneurs. I do work with some men, but specifically, I tend to work with women to support them in creating a lot more alignment in their life. So taking what they do for money and making sure that it is aligning with what they want in their life, the way that they want to live their life, and that they're able to go about doing it in a way that doesn't burn them out. So we dig into it from a lot of different standpoints. We work on the spiritual side of things and making sure that they're aligned to what their soul's calling is. We look at their mindset and where they might be having some blocks that are keeping them from showing up fully. And then we look at logistically what needs to happen. Where might there be some gaps in their business that they maybe need to put some more time and energy into, or really get hyper focused in a specific area because maybe they're focusing on too many different places. This podcast is one of my favorite things to do because it's just been such a wonderful journey. We've been at this now for almost a year. Typically, I'm joined by my co-host, Jonathan Duggar, but today I am flying solo. So let's talk about this for a second, because I've been around in the seminar, so to say, industry for my entire life, my entire adult life. I have been in and around and participating in what we might call the seminar industry, whether that was being somebody who was taking courses and learning how to be a better business person and to run my business better, and as someone who was also fulfilling what other people were selling, and then also fulfilling what I now sell myself in my own coaching practice. So I've got a lot of experience from different facets. And so I find it really fascinating. You know, one of the strategies in marketing is to, when someone has a knowledge base or an expertise, oftentimes they will end up writing a book that highlights their methodology. And sometimes I see those people get some criticism because maybe it's not something new that they've read before. And they're like, have read and read and read so many different strategies trying to figure out how to run their business. And so then they read another book and it's like saying the same thing. And so then they get criticism for that. And here's the thing. We all have our own journey and our own flavor and the own spice that we put on how we do our business, but it's not all that, I don't want to say complicated, but the principles of building a business are really pretty simple. You have people that you serve, you have a problem, they have a problem, you solve that problem, you have a way of communicating with them and getting leads, and you get to make offers and you follow up and you fulfill that. And so we could think of like a million different creative ways to make all of those things happen, but that pretty simplifies what is happening in business. So the expectation that someone's story or book or methodology is going to be drastically different from another person's, at the bare bones of it, it's really just the spice that they're putting on it. And so what I often find is someone who is in a growth mindset, who is looking for those little nuggets or that little thing that lands for them better, they tend not to be the one that is complaining. The one that is complaining is the person who's looking for the secret sauce, the person who's looking for the thing that's going to break them through. And they're on this searching, this hunt. And then they get frustrated because they keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again from everybody that they are following and listening to. And it's not working for them. And they get really, really frustrated. And so then maybe they decide, you know what, reading books isn't going to work for me. So now they go and they sign up for that coach or that mentor's course. And it's not any different. And so what I really wanted to make sure that I highlight and talk about here is that the information out there now with the way that computers, and you can literally ask AI, and we can listen to books on Audible, we can get on social media. A lot of these same individuals, like if you were to sit and watch their social media accounts, it would be all the same information. They're telling people all the same information. They're being so generous with all the information that it's out there, but people consume content in different ways. And so what's actually happening here is that these individuals are struggling because of something in them that keeps them from taking action. It's a fear-based thing, and they're looking for something outside of themselves in order to fix that. And so that's when you really have to stop and take a moment and say, okay, wait a minute, do I need to dig deeper? So ultimately, and this was one of the things that I was looking for, like, okay, what should I talk about today? I had written a note. I keep a journal of like little things that come up. And in my journal, I wrote like, why can some people read a book and take action and some people can't? And I started to think about, okay, how does this show up? How do people act? What do they do? What's the criticism? And it's so interesting the way it falls back on the coaches and the mentors and the people out there who are doing this alternative type of education and how it blows back on them that it's something that they're doing wrong, that they're not unique enough or original enough, or it's not the secret sauce enough, when really the responsibility lies with the individual who's consuming the content and maybe not taking action or not questioning themselves to say, why is it working for other people? Especially, I'm not saying that there aren't some people who are doing education and creating things just to have money, and they don't really care if their people get results. Yes, there are some people out there who are like that. And I do think that there's a part of the industry that's kind of like saying, oh, it's super easy. You can make money and this is how you'll do it. And you'll just go out there and create a social media account and then you'll sell this course and it'll be like, you don't have to talk to anybody. They just buy your course and go do it. And it's not really unique or new information. And they don't really care if their people get results. That's not really who I'm talking about, but coaches and mentors take a lot of flack. Trainers, anybody who teaches courses that is outside of traditional education sometimes get a lot of flack. And I read the reviews. And so they get a lot of people who are complaining, but not really taking any personal responsibility. So ultimately, what's going on here is if someone has put their methodology out in a book and you can read it and you go out and take action on it and implement it and it works for you, you just didn't have any of the resistances to that particular thing. That particular strategy or technique didn't raise any red flags for you that, gosh, maybe this is unsafe. If you've been around here for any amount of time, I talk about big assumptions. If you're brand new, a big assumption is essentially something that your unconscious believes to be true about the world and the way that you exist in it. And so what happens is you go out, you read that book, you try to take action on it. And if your brain says, gosh, this feels unsafe, like if we do this, we could get rejected. If we do this, our family's going to judge us for trying to do something different. If we do this, my colleagues are going to think that I'm crazy because this isn't the way things are normally done. Or if this was such a good idea, this is your self-talk. If this was such a good idea, someone else would have already done it. I must be crazy. So all the ways that you talk yourself out of things. And so we make these assumptions and they get in the way and they slow us down and they sabotage the actions that you want to take when something is outside of your comfort zone. Because I know this to be true, one of the things that I'll often do when I'm really interested in a strategy or a technique or something that a coach has is I will oftentimes pick up their book and I will read it first because I want to know, like, do I jive with their philosophy? It's really easy to get caught up in some sales techniques out there and they work. There's merit to someone like me getting up on stage and talking about the problem and telling you how they're going to solve it and taking you through what their offer is and making that offer and getting sales. There's nothing wrong with that process. For me, though, I know I can sometimes get caught up in those situations and then maybe it's not a great fit. So I'm a little bit more of a slow simmer kind of person. And I like to read the book first, or I like to stalk on Instagram first and watch how this person interacts. What's their philosophy? And so a lot of times I'll watch them first and see if we have the same philosophy in the way that we approach things. I have had situations where I have purchased a book from a coach. Their methodology was awesome. I took action on it. I used the technique in my business. It worked great and I use it, but I never hired them as a coach. Is it because they couldn't teach me more than that? I absolutely think they could have. I just didn't feel the need to go buy and work with that coach. And that is totally okay. That coach is putting out that methodology, giving you some transparency, giving you some technique, giving you some value in hopes that maybe perhaps you'll want to come in and work with them, or that you'll realize that you maybe still have some questions. Maybe you need more information or you don't feel confident enough to go out and do that strategy that they're telling you without maybe a little bit more hand holding. And that's when it makes sense to go into that coach's program and start working with them on a more intimate level. Even though you already know the methodology, there are other things that they can dive deeper into. And there's ways that these people, the coaches, will come in and say like, okay, so maybe you're feeling a little resistant about it, but here, let's look at it a different way, or let's adjust that. What are you believing here? That if you believed something else, it would make it easier. Or let me walk alongside you and answer all of your questions, answer all of the things that you have regarding the strategy that I teach. And oh, by the way, I know all these other things as well that I can also teach you and really enhance it even further, especially if they have a longer program or more intensive program. They typically are teaching you even more than they actually have in their book. And it's a great experience for people. And then there's those that are like, well, this is the same thing that's in the book that didn't work in the book. So there must be some secret sauce. There's something you're not telling me. There's something you're holding back. And in that case, if you've gone on, you've worked with the coach, you liked their philosophy, and like this strategy still didn't work for you. It's not that it doesn't work. It's not that the coach is a scam artist or something like that. I'm trying to think of like what people say in the comments. Like just today, someone was like, scam. It was like, I saw someone today, they were complaining that, they saw something that looked like an Excel spreadsheet and they were like calling them out and saying, well, that's just an Excel spreadsheet. Sure. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks if it works, but you don't know how to use it or you can't get into the right mindset to use it. And this wasn't directed at me. This was just, I happened to see a sponsored ad and I saw what someone wrote in the comments to this person who is very successful in their business and runs a really great business and has helped a lot of people. And someone was saying like, oh, an Excel spreadsheet. Well, that's a scam because anybody can make an Excel spreadsheet. No, they can't. Not anybody can make an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe that person could, but not anybody can. Some people don't want to. Some people don't know how to use it. But regardless of what the tool even looks like, can you actually take action on it? Can you actually apply? It isn't about having the prettiest tools. And that's one of the things I also see from the coaching side is sometimes coaches feel like they have to put forth something that is, and they'll invest a lot of money to make something look really professional and really pretty and really sassy and sexy and like this amazing thing that you're putting forward so that people will pay for it. And that's not really even the value. The value is not in how it looks. The value is in, can you take action on it? Can you utilize it or whatever the template might be? And it works for you and you get a return on your investment because you're working the process. You're working with the tool. It's not enough to just have I bought the coaching. Oh, I bought the tool or program or whatever it is. And now I'm entitled to money at it. And that's not actually how this whole thing works. So once someone gets into working with a coach, and this is really my heart. So when I first started as an immunity to change coach, one of the things that I realized was, or thought, was that it was all of these coaches and strategists' responsibility to do this kind of work that I do with people, this deep inner work where we get into the unconscious and we figure out where you're actually self-protecting and why it's so hard for you to take action on things that seem so simple. And I used to think it was their responsibility. Like, well, they should be teaching this. It's their responsibility. But actually, it's not. They have a specific set of skills. I feel like a Liam Neeson line, like, I have a particular set of skills, right? They have a particular set of skills or expertise. They've put it together in a system. They're showing people how to do it. And if you do it and you have the right mindset around it and your come from is from the right place and it's aligned to your values, you'll have no problem taking action on it and doing it. if you are struggling and you see other people succeeding in that community as well, that tells me there's something in you or in that person that is actually making it really hard for them to move forward. And even if they're doing all the right things, and I've been that person, if I just follow the coaching, it'll work. Not realizing that I had things in my mindset that were actually sabotaging me. And fortunately, I have the ability to dig into that. I seek out coaching from other people to help me dig into that and actually transform those places where I was blocked up too. But I see this happen all the time, where it's easier sometimes to blame someone else, the strategy, the coach, the market, the politics, whatever it is. It's easy to blame someone else, your circumstances, for the lack of success than it is to be responsible for it for yourself. And here's the thing, that is the most disempowering way of being, because that means your ability to be successful, make money, build wealth, and have what you want in this life is outside of you. And so I want you to take that power back, right? You have to take that power back. It comes from within you and your willingness to dig in and say, okay, I've hit a plateau. I've gone as far. And there's people who will go to a certain point and then they'll hit their block. And then there are people who are blocked right at the beginning. Everybody's blocks come at different points, but it's up to you to say, okay, I have hit a plateau. I can't hear my coach anymore. I'm getting frustrated. You may find like sometimes people are like, they get frustrated. They can't hear their coach anymore. They're frustrated and they're starting to blame other people for that lack of success. Now it's time to say, oh, wait, hang on. I'm doing that thing where I'm giving my power away. I need to now look within and see, where's this block coming from? And so that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do in my business and partnering with other coaches and people who teach strategies, because I know that the people get a better return on investment when they also, alongside of strategy, do this kind of work, do the leadership work and the interpersonal development work, where you're really digging into what is it that I believe about the way the world works, and how do I need to shift my beliefs, my big assumptions, so that they actually now align with what I want in this world. And that's not something that most people are skilled at doing. I think most of the coaches and mentors out there who are teaching people how to build businesses, who are coming in as consultants and strategists and helping you execute different aspects of your business, a majority of them are very skilled at something specific, whether it's marketing, finances, social media. I'm trying to think of all the different reasons people, just general business coaching. They have a certain level of ability to help you manage your mind. And they had themselves, in order to be business owners and do what they do, they've had to manage their minds. They've had to do personal development work. They've had to work with coaches on mindset and digging into their belief systems, because there's this whole level of fear of failure that almost everyone has to work through. So they like this fear that like, what if it doesn't work? But then once it works, you get to this next level. Now it's like fear of success. And so what'll happen is they'll build their business to a certain standpoint, or anybody will build their business to a certain level. And then they'll find that they keep plateauing, and then they feel like they keep getting knocked down. Like it'll hit this level, plateau, and then they get back knocked down. Well, now what we have coming in is really this fear of success. Like if I go bigger, is it going to take more from me? Is it going to be at the expense of something that's important to me? Can my body handle it? Can my brain handle it? Can I handle the responsibility of now hiring so many more people, or actually bringing employees into my business? Am I capable of serving at the level that I want to serve? So they have to hire. It's like no matter what level you're at, you can't get away without doing the mindset work, the inner work, the deeper level work. So while those people are skilled and they can give you oftentimes enough to get over some of the humps and get you started and get you into business, there's always a point where you got to go deeper. And that's where you start looking inward. It's not about another strategy. It's not about the market or your circumstances. It's about you making the decision of what you want in your life and then going to work to figure out where you are getting in your own way. And so that's where you start out and you're like, okay, can I pick up a book and read it and go out and do it? Absolutely. And I think it's awesome that most mentors out there, most people who have achieved a certain level of success in their field, and then they turn around and they want to help others do the same. I think it's really awesome because it's so much more practical. I mean, I went to college for 4 years to become a respiratory therapist. I'm not a respiratory therapist. I stayed a respiratory therapist for a very short period of time in the bigger scheme of things. And I didn't like working for someone else. And I think a lot of us go to a traditional route of education, but sometimes that education, what that does is it mostly gets us jobs where we work for someone else and we are reliant on someone else. And that is perfectly okay. But that is not how the people around me are generally wired. We don't like to be told what to do. We want to pave our own way. We don't like how slow corporate work will move and work. We want the flexibility to be able to follow ideas that we have. Entrepreneurship is hugely creative and there's a need for it. It's where innovation happens. So I think that there's a need for non-traditional types of education out there. And I think if you're someone out there who is doing that, you also have to be responsible enough to say, I am responsible for my results. And look at how do you need to improve or be a better person in order to get those results. It is no different than going to school, getting a college education. Great, you've got a degree, but you're a crappy person and no one wants to hire you because you don't show up for work and you're like not a quality person. Like that person would not get hired either. And would they go to a college and say, you know, I got an education and I should have a job, and yet you're not a great employee, right? So you have to rise to the level of your business that you want. Be ready for that business. Be the kind of person that can hold that business and do the work to be the kind of person that can hold that business and not blame others, the market, the politics, the circumstances for why you can't do something. So I know that's like a little bit of hard talk, but it just really struck me as like, oh, it's so fascinating that people can pick up a book, go out, do it. They will crush it. Everything they do, they crush. And there's people who go out, pick up the book, can't do it, which is why then there's the coaching that author has provided, some method of getting additional support. And so you take on that. And then there will still be critics within that say, oh, it didn't work for me. And that's okay. It's not that it won't work for you. It's not that you actually, anything you've ever invested in, it's not that those strategies won't work for you now. You just got to get out of your own way. You actually have to do the work and dig into your mind and figure out, what is my mind making unsafe about this situation that is making it so hard for me to move forward? And now, once you work through that, you can actually bring all of that other knowledge base that you have. It's not lost knowledge. You can bring all that other knowledge base that you've acquired from all the books you've read, podcasts you listen to, programs you've been in, and alternative types of education and learning you've had, and even things that you learned traditionally. And you can bring it all together and you can take action and move so much faster because you're not getting in your way anymore. So information is so easy to come by now. I think where the real work comes in is more people putting more focus on who they are being in the world and being the kind of quality person who does good in the world, who has good intentions, being aware of how your emotions drive how you feel about things or the actions that you actually choose to take, because your brain will actually convince you to take actions differently than you want to alleviate feelings that you're having. And so I think this is really what is so, so needed more than anything in this world, is for people to be willing to step up and look at themselves. And that is the only way we are going to get to this next level. And that is the only way that we are going to, as a society, advance and become better, is when we become more responsible for our behavior, who we are in the world, and how we show up. And I do think that's a big key factor here. So all of that from this is why some people could pick up a book and go do it, and this is why some people can't. So if you are someone and you realize like, this is work that I really actually do want to prioritize, I want to invite you to schedule a journey mapping call with me. On that call, I will work with you to figure out where is the point that you're stuck and what is it that might be keeping you stuck. We'll put together a plan for how you can start to rewire your brain and discuss what it would look like for you to work with someone like me. Typically, the answer is not more strategy. The answer is inside of you, and it's just learning how to unlock that. So with all of that being said, I'm sending you so much love. And if Jonathan were here, he would say, be well. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.